So welcome everybody to challenge number 2, piles of paper. We'll just jump right in. We talked a little bit before we started about what was going on. So this week's winner, Teresa Edsel-Krymowski, is going to get a $25 gift certificate to the ScrapRack. So way to go, Teresa. And let's get right into the process here. I wanted to share this Facebook post with you. It's kind of a long post, but what was important to me, you know how I am about goals and affirmation and all that kind of stuff, is just that the statement that Janice made us end, that her hobby room was going to be used for a hobby. She wasn't going to have to go to the dining room table, and she wasn't going to be embarrassed about the way that the room looked. So I'm hoping all of you take on that attitude of Janice and commit to getting your scrapbook room or space, no matter what that is, whether it's a few totes, a closet, or an entire room, organized and put together, and really make it into a functional place that you love to be and that you love to work. So with that, let's get started. So our goals for this webinar are that to have a solid understanding of how to categorize your paper stash mentally, how to do the physical task of sorting paper, what to do with things like kits and stacks and all of those kinds of things, even scraps, and understanding the importance of why you need to designate an organized-only space. So first of all, let's start off with what is an organized-only space. And this is the area to the left or right of where you sit to work that will be reserved for items you have organized. If you don't have a set area to work, this needs to be an easily accessible storage area. So I know you're going to get sick of hearing me say this as we go through this challenge series, but it's really important that things are easy and accessible. And that's one of the keys to being successful with organization. The more difficult you make it to be organized, or the harder it is to get to your stuff, the less likely it is that you'll be able to keep up with being organized. So designate that organized-only space. Ideally, it'll be somewhere to the left or right of where you're working. For those of you who don't have a space that can be dedicated all the time to crafting, it might be a closet or some totes, as I said, but you need to have that space that's for organized things that have already been organized. So you'll actually begin sorting and storing products this week, so you really need to prepare a space that is only for these items. And so where you might be thinking, I don't have any room for that, in the moment you can consolidate everything into piles or boxes or stacks somewhere, but you need to have that clean space, and that's where you're going to put the things that you organize. So it'll make it that much easier. You'll have a place to put the things that are organized. So let's talk about the mental process of sorting paper. So we're going to stick with that 4-section system, and hopefully all of you took an opportunity last week to read the 4-section system article and to understand what each of the sections is and how they work. When we talk about paper, there are only 3 sections. Obviously, there's not really an alphanumeric section for paper. So there's themes, calendar year, and the rainbow. Themes in the calendar year are generally pretty easy for most of us to get our brains around. They're pretty specific. There are some challenges with calendar for a lot of people who will think, well, Halloween's a theme, so I'm going to put Halloween under H for themes. I'm going to put Easter under E, and then I'm just going to have like winter, spring, summer, fall. So you really want to keep your calendar year, all the things that happen every year chronologically in the lives of the world there. So holidays fall into calendar year. And the reason you want to do that, you don't want to put Halloween under H and Thanksgiving under T, because you want to keep things together you would use together. And there's a lot of things that are going to cross over between Halloween and Thanksgiving, right? Trees with no leaves and pumpkins and, you know, autumn leaves blowing around the ground or whatever. You don't want to have to go to 2 totally different sections, T for Thanksgiving and H for Halloween. So calendar year is really important. The rainbow presents the biggest challenge. What do we do with all those printed papers, and what about papers with multiple colors? And that tends to be the hardest part for people to really sort of get their brains around. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. What do we do with things that have mixed papers in them? So for print and patterned and multicolored papers, a general rule of thumb for organizing your colored papers is to start with solid colored first and follow with prints and patterns. So if I'm organizing red, then I'm going to have solid red, and then behind that I'm going to have distressed, dots, flowers, plaids, print, stripes, etc. I try to stay consistent so that I always, well, and you notice my list is in alphabetical order. So I know that if I'm looking for a distressed paper, it's going to be right behind the solid colored cardstock, followed by dots or flowers or plaids. And it's the same in every color group that I've got. With most multicolored papers, there's one dominant color. Use that color as the color that you're going to sort by. If you've got papers that are a rainbow of colors, you can add a multicolored tab to the end of your rainbow section. So there are some papers out there that really, there's not one dominant color that jumps out for you. So if you need to have a rainbow section at the very end where the papers are mixed, then you can do that. And then just use these, distressed dots, flowers, plaids, stripes as your guide for sorting those papers. So that'll make it easy to find if you're looking for dots or stripes or plaids, be able to go right to that section. Now, what are the exceptions? Remember that one of the biggest goals is to be able to find things quickly and easily. And that means, as I said just a few minutes ago, keeping things together you would use together. And this is true with colored or printed pattern papers as well. As an example, if you bought printed floral paper, pink floral paper for your daughter's ballet pages, well, it's not really a theme. It's not really ballet paper, right? It's pink floral paper. So you bought it specifically for ballet pages, and so you want to keep it with what you would use it for. So put that pink floral paper in the ballet section. When you've created with it, done those ballet pages, and then you have some left over, it's no longer part of the ballet collection, then you can go ahead and put that ballet stuff right into your pink or floral section, and you won't have to, sorry, I'm closing my office door here. I hear some noise out there. So you can put it into pink floral at that point. So just because you bought something that was a solid color, if you bought it with something specific in mind, you want to put it with that specific thing so that you'll actually use it with that. So a lot of times, we buy a printed paper for, let's say, Disney. We buy a Disney paper that's printed, and then we find exactly the right red cardstock that we want to use with that Disney paper. You want to keep those things together so that you don't have to go looking for them later. So if you bought it specifically for something, then it's going to go with that specific thing. This is really important to note, ladies. Nothing bad will happen. Don't allow yourself to get overwhelmed when you're deciding where to put paper. It should take a split second to decide where each color of paper is going to go. So most of you probably have enough paper that if a few sheets, and in some cases a few hundred sheets, get filed in a less than perfect spot, that's going to be okay. You're still going to be able to find something perfect for the project that you're working on. So go with your gut, make decisions quickly, and keep moving. Remember, if the paper ends up out of place or you come across it later and you think that's really not a good match for that paper, you can pull it out and just refile it. What you don't want to do is get bogged down or overwhelmed or frustrated with the process of sorting your paper. So after teaching this class for nearly 10 years, I think that most of us are paper junkies and have more paper than we could ever use if we scrapbooked every day for the rest of our life. So don't worry about a few sheets of paper. Move quickly through it. Now, like I talked about before, when it becomes difficult to make a decision, when your rational brain is getting tired of making decisions, walk away from your pile of paper, get a cup of coffee, take a walk outside, make dinner, whatever, something else, so that your brain can take a little bit of a rest and then go back. I know it sounds so silly, but you'll find that it's really, really true. Your brain gets exhausted, and then it becomes much more difficult to make decisions. So when you get to that point, walk away, think about other things, or do something mindless, go out for a walk or whatever, and then come back to it. But don't let yourself get overwhelmed. What do we do with kits and stacks? If you're a member of a kit club like Club Scrap and you get a paper pizza box full of goodies every month, you don't want to reinvent the wheel with this whole organization thing, right? What you want to do is make it as easy as possible to find the things that you've got. And so you want to tie them together. You don't want to take those pizza boxes totally apart and spend time, money, energy, reorganizing everything that's in them if you don't have to. So my suggestion is to add, you get a little flyer in the kit that say what's in the kit. So my suggestion is number the flyer, number the kit, put the flyer in your 4-section system. So if you got a spring kit, you're going to put it in spring. Now, it might fit in multiple categories. so then you might want to make multiple copies of that flyer. But number the box and number the flyer. So here's January from 2011. This is the Club Scrap kit. It was called Lotus Pond, very springy. And so I gave the flyer number 105. I labeled the box number 105. You can write the date and the title on the box too if you want to. But now if I go into my scrap rack and I look under spring, I'm going to see that flyer and all the goodies that are in it, including the woodblock stamps that are in there. And if I say, oh, I want to use that, now I can go directly to my stack of pizza boxes and just pull out box number 105. Now, as I use the products that are in that box, I may get it down to just a few things, so I don't really have that whole kit left anymore. And at that point, then I'm going to just file the little bits and pieces that are left all together in the spring section. So as you use up those products, and now the box is, taking up more space than the products would, then I would migrate the products right into your scrap rack or into your 4-section system. So if you're using binders or Ziploc bags or whatever tool you've chosen to use, file folders, at the point that there's just a few things left in that box, then you can move those over into your 4-section system. So, but make it easy to tie things together without recreating whole new systems for doing things. Remember, you always want to work within that 4-section system and integrate things in as you can. Paper stacks. These are some of the things I hear about paper stacks. It was such a great deal. I loved all the papers. It was a limited edition. La, 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 la. Paper stacks start at 20 bucks. We buy them at Michael's with our 40% off coupon, so we get them for $12. There's, 72 sheets of paper all the way up to maybe, 100 sheets of paper. Some paper pads only have 25 sheets of paper in them, whatever they are. But if you love paper stacks and you use paper stacks, they can be a great value. What I would recommend to anybody who's buying paper stacks is that on the back of the paper stack, you write the date that you bought it and what you paid for it. So when you come across that paper stack a year later and it's half empty, which means you've used 36 sheets and it was $12, and you can go, yeah, that was a good value. Or if you come across that paper stack a year later and you've used one sheet of paper out of it or no sheets of paper out of it, then you can go, wow, I paid $12 for one sheet of paper. Maybe that wasn't such a good value. So a big part of this organization process is becoming aware of how you scrap, what you scrap, and the kinds of products that you use. So well, you might think that paper stacks are a great value. You won't actually know it unless you figure out some way to kind of keep track of them. So just write on the back of it the date you bought it and what you paid for it. And then it'll be a lot easier to make decisions about buying the next paper stack. You'll be able to say, yes, I'm really good about using paper stacks and they're a great value. Or you'll be able to say to yourself, I know that I'm not good at using them. So, sorry, I had to pause for a little drink there. So that's my shopping lecture, ladies. But just making yourself aware, which is a big part of this whole organization process and keeping track of those things. The other thing about that is when we talk about purging, if you have a paper stack with the date on the back and you've never used it and it's 2 years old, it's a lot easier for your brain to justify purging it, giving it away, selling it at the next local scrapbook store garage sale, if you know that you haven't used it. So, all right. So this is my lecture about paper stacks and shopping with them. So now, if you have paper stacks, you're going to need to organize them, obviously. I don't want you to spend a bunch of time pulling them apart. I want you to find a way to represent them in your paper collection, if that's what you need to do. Once they get down to just a few sheets, then it's easy to file them, in a supersized single or in your paper storage box or whatever. But don't pull them all apart and separate them. Rather, integrate them in using some other sort of tool. So I'm a big advocate for those little stick-on labeling tabs. We sell them on our website. You can buy them at the office supply store. They're a pretty basic thing. So you can see on these two paper stacks, one of them is all about sports. It's called Vintage Sports, actually. So it's kind of got that, graphic 45 sort of look in sports. and the other one is All Seasons, an All Seasons paper pad. And so I've just put those little labeling tabs on them, and now I can stand them up on the shelf with my paper storage boxes, which we'll see a little bit later, in the right section. So I've got that whole sports pad that can be standing up. So instead of taking up a 12 by 12 section on my shelf, it's going to stand on its edge and only take up a 1 inch wide of section. I don't have a bunch of stuff stacked on top of it, so I don't have to dig down to the bottom of the pile to get it. So anytime you can turn anything up on its side and go vertical with it instead of laying it flat, it's going to make it so much easier to pull it on and off your shelf. So try to turn things on their edge rather than stack things on top of them that you have to dig to the bottom of. Okay, so those are some good ways to do that. Now, how do you actually sort your paper, the physical way to sort paper? And there are 2 ways to do it. You can use sorting templates, and these will be used to sort your other materials as well. You'll see some images of those coming up. And a sorting template is a guide to all the things that you scrapbook about. You're going to take your themes list, and you're going to create these templates. Now, I would strongly recommend using 12 by 18 paper to make them. Again, you're going to see some images of them. I bought the 12 by 18 paper pad at the dollar store in the kids, like with the kids art supply. So you can use construction paper also, but construction paper is a little bit more expensive. So sorry, each time I pause to drink something, I feel like it's a radio show with dead air. So 12 by 18 works best. You can also use dividers in a paper storage box. So you can use chipboard, cardboard, or even old cardstock that you're not going to actually scrapbook with anymore. It can be used just by applying self-adhesive tabs to make those dividers. So here's what the sorting templates look like. So you can see I just took that 12 by 18 paper and drew a line down the side of it. Now, on the left side picture, the back sorting template, there is letters, numbers, and punctuation marks, which we aren't going to use for sorting paper, but you will need it when we start sorting other things next week. So you can make your templates for all 4 of the 4 section systems, even though you won't probably use the letter, numbers, and punctuation marks this time. So then you can see, like on the B tab here, all the things that were under themes B on my themes list, I wrote them down in that margin. And as I'm sorting paper, I'm going to stack it up on top of that template to keep it all orderly. So then you can also use boxes and dividers. So these are just paper storage boxes. It's chipboard, and I put the labeling tab. And so this allows me to sort a lot of paper in a small space. So when we're using the templates, we're going to spread those out all around, either on the floor or countertops. I've seen people go across their dressers and then back and forth across their bed and, you know, over down the hallway or whatever. So the templates take up a little bit more room. The paper storage boxes make it really easy. You make those dividers, and then you can sort right in, you know, just like a filing system right into those. So what you're going to do is spread out those templates or set up those paper storage boxes, and then you're going to take your paper and just drop it in each section or drop it onto each template, right? So with these, you're going to end up with your birthday, your baby, and your beach all on there. And then you're going to take those that B stack and sit down with it, and then you're going to sort into specific piles. So don't worry as you go through the sorting process that you're that you put beach paper and then some birthday paper and baby and then more beach and this back and forth, because once you get that pile of paper, you'll be able to sit down with it and regroup it. Now, not all of your theme sections are going to actually have multiple items under them, so so that's going to make it even easier, if that makes sense. Oops, backspace here. Let's go forward. So then you can put your pages into your ScrapRack. So I use the supersize single, and I put that whole supersize single right into my ScrapRack. So all that beach paper is going to go in my supersize single page, and it's going to go right into my ScrapRack under B for beach. If you're using paper storage boxes, you can use the supersize singles or not. And then you just file under ABC alphabetically with that theme. The nice thing about putting your paper into a supersize single or a side loader single in your paper storage box is that if you're going to a crop or a class or something and you want to grab just that theme, then it's easy to pull just the beach paper out or just the birthday paper out rather than taking your whole themed ABC box with you to the crop, you can grab out a very specific paper that way. And because it's in that either the side loader single or the super size single, all the edges and corners are protected on it. So it makes it really simple that way. So here's just a couple of examples of what your paper might look like. So you can see on the left side, this gal has a bunch of scrap racks. She actually has 6, so they're all doubled up in there. But she's got paper in the top 2. Her rainbow is in the bottom, so that's one section, and then her themes are in calendar on the top 1 there. So she chose not to mix her products in with her paper. I would strongly recommend that if you're using a scrap, she's got all her embellishments in the scrap rack there. So I would strongly recommend that you take your embellishments and put them right with your themes and right in with your calendar year and right in with your rainbow. This gal decided not, but that was not what she wanted to do. It's a hard transition for people. We'll talk more about that next week. Okay, and so then in the picture on the right side, we have the paper storage boxes, and these are actually turned over on their backs, and that's a great way to put paper into a paper storage box, whether you're using our boxes or like the Creative Memories, or not Creative Memories, Cropper Hopper boxes. I know Michael's and Joanne sell some boxes, but when they're on their back like that, it's easy to pull things in and out. So you can see here, beyond the first box, I have my sports tab of loose sheets of paper in the first box, and then beyond that, I've got that sports stack of paper with the little label on it. So now when I'm looking for sports paper, I'm going to go to the sports section in my themes, and then I'm also going to see that paper stack right there, so it's easy to pull out. Remember, if it's easy to use, you probably will use it, and if it's difficult to use, you probably won't. So it's easy in 2 ways. It's easy because it's right filed in there with sports, and it's easy because it's not at the bottom of a pile of something that I have to dig to. So tipping it on its side makes things really accessible for you, or makes paper really accessible for you, and then you're much more likely to use it. So here's a couple of different examples of what paper might look like in paper storage boxes for you paper junkies, or just in a scrap rack setup as well. So one of the other things I want you to notice in this picture, if you're using a scrap rack, when you look at it from the back, you should see that solid metal piece that says the scrap rack on it. A lot of people tip their scrap racks up, and it's actually sitting on that solid metal piece as the base of it, which makes it at too much of an angle, and that's going to create some problems for your binders and for just the weight of it and the way your pages turn, those kind of things. So if you are using a scrap rack, or you plan to use a scrap rack, that's the key to the success of that. Even your scraps of paper are going to get filed right into your 4-section system. So with the scrap rack, you can use a couple of different pocket page configurations to put your scraps in. So what you want to do before you start sorting your scraps is you want to decide what is your minimum scrap size. So for me, it's 2 by 3. My sister won't keep anything that's not at least 12 inches long. She doesn't care how wide it is. Whatever your minimum scrap size is, write it down, put it on your bulletin board, where you can look at it all the time and know when you finish a project, anything that doesn't meet that minimum goes in your purge box or your recycle bin or whatever you're doing with it, or in the garbage, whatever it is. And then you file away into the rainbow section or into the theme section those scraps of paper that you think you'll find useful. Now, scrap size is going to be different for everybody. So if you're a card maker and you use a lot of little 1-by-1 scraps, then you may be saving 1-by-1 scraps. I have to have stuff that's at least big enough to journal on, so 2 by 3 is my minimum. So it's going to be different for everybody. All I'm saying is choose your minimum scrap size, write it down, and post it. And when you're finished with your project, anything that doesn't meet the minimum goes away. Anything that does meet the minimum gets filed right back into wherever it belongs in that 4-section system. The other thing about doing your scraps this way is even if you, at the end, after you've completed a project, if you have blue scraps and you go to your blue scrap section and you have 3 pages jammed full of blue scraps, then you can easily add those scraps to your purge box or the recycle bin or whatever it is, because you know that you have enough. The other thing about doing your scraps this way is when you do need a journaling block or you do need a blue mat for a picture or whatever, you can go right to that scrap section. And my scraps are at the very back of each of the color, each of the rainbow sections. you can go right there and see if you've already got something that's going to work with it. Because they're arranged by size and because they're very visible, it makes it really easy to pull one of those things out and actually use it. So a couple of another way to do your scraps. So this is, if you're using paper storage boxes, you can easily store your scraps in just a file folder. And so for some reason, the pictures here make these file folders look like they're legal size or something. They're not. It's just the angle of the camera. They're just 8.5 by 11 file folders. I put the little scraps in the front, and then they just go back as they're bigger. So when I open that red file folder of scraps, I can see small to large depending on what I need. You can see that they kind of stick out the end of the folder in the picture, the second picture over, and that's okay because your page is 13 inches long, depending on what brand you're using. So it's okay if the ends of the scraps stick out of the file folder because they're going to be fine in that box because there's enough length there. But then when you need a scrap or you need to put a scrap away, you're able to just pull that file folder out and add those scraps to it just like that. It makes it really simple. Here's a great idea from Diana Regal-Dodson, who's a regular poster on the Facebook page. So Diana, if you're with us today, thank you for that. Wanted to share a thought for upcoming challenge on paper and purging scraps. One of the things I wish I had done in the first series was to save some scraps to use during the stamps, punches, and die cut challenge. So as you're purging your paper, maybe have a smaller box or bin that you can hold scraps to be used for punch, die cut, or stamp representation. So as we get into further organizing, there are some steps that you'll take to organize your stamps, punches, die cuts, and those kind of things. So you may want to just collect your scraps in a box or a bin or something. There's scraps that you wouldn't normally use, and then you can actually use them as we go through that part of the process. You can kind of burn up some of that stuff as we go through the next step. So how to store your paper. There's 3 ways to store paper. So you can use a paper storage box with file folders for scraps. You can use a ScrapRack with pocket pages for scraps. And the third way is a little bit of both. Minor themes will have all their paper stored in the ScrapRack and all the scraps in the ScrapRack, and major themes will be in paper storage boxes, as long as you stay in the 3 sections that you've got. So that's really the key. So the third option is what works best for most people. So even if you're not using a ScrapRack, even if you're using some other kind of file folder or big Ziploc bags, categories where you have smaller amounts of paper can go right into that section, and categories where you have lots of paper. So some people are paper junkies about Christmas, and they might have 500 sheets of Christmas paper. Well, obviously, that's going to work a lot better in a paper storage box. But if you have 4 sheets of ballet paper, there's no reason that it can't go right in with the rest of your ballet embellishments or whatever. So that's that is the third option, is what most people end up using. So here's your goals for that: organizing and make all way. And then you'll be able to add in those elements for organization as we move through the process. Now remember, you're going to clean out that space, and then you're going to add organized elements back into the space. And every time you take something out of the pile behind you and organize it and put in the organized only space, it makes your organized only space a little bit bigger as you're cleaning up all the other stuff around you. So pretty soon your whole space will be the organized only space. And that'll put you in a really good space, a peaceful place for crafting where you have everything accessible. So here's our challenge for this week. Create an organized only space in your craft area or storage area. Choose a storage tool for your paper, whatever it's going to be: ScrapRack, paper storage boxes, file folders, whatever. Create the templates or dividers that you're going to use for sorting. Sort your paper. So I want everybody to sort at least 8 inches of paper. Now, don't make it hard on yourself. Grab a stack of paper or 2 stacks of paper or whatever you've got that's 8 inches tall and just go through and sort it. Don't worry about that I might have stalker paper over here in this pile and stalker paper over here in this drawer, and I need to get all those things together at the same time. You're going to be sorting a few inches of paper every week as part of the challenge until you run out of paper to sort. So grab whatever's handy, whatever's closest, and just start sorting right there. Sort your scraps and throw away scraps that don't meet your minimum requirements. Put your newly organized paper into your organized only area of your room or space, and then post your success to the Facebook group and let us all know how you're doing. Now, for those of you who are here for the first time, who haven't joined us in the past, I'll just tell you quickly, there's a prize every week. The prize is based on a progress post. So it doesn't mean that you have to totally complete everything and do it 100%, but you have to make some progress, and then you have to tell us about it. And you can either do it on the Facebook group. If you're not a Facebooker, you can email me, or you can email Joanna at customerservice@thescraprack.com, and she'll forward it on to me. And then everybody who does a progress post gets thrown into a drawing, and each week on Monday morning, we draw out a winner, and that person wins a $25 ScrapRack gift certificate. So you definitely want to participate in that if you're doing the challenges. So just make sure we get an update on how you're doing. Also, there are always people jumping on new who have the question about can I watch this later, or how can I get, how can I rewatch this or whatever. So it all gets posted on our website, and I'll show you where in just a second here. I just want to go over a few tips for success. Do things in small pieces. Be sure you have enough time to complete the task you're doing. So don't make a huge mess all over the house. If you know you have to serve dinner on the table 20 minutes later, try and do things in these small baby steps so that you can actually, so some of you may need to only sort 1 inch of paper at a time and put it away, because that's all the time you have, and you're going to do this task in 8 little increments through the week. Some of you may have 3 or 4 hours where you think I can sort all 8 inches of paper right now and get it done. But what you don't want to do is start sorting and then have to pull everything back together and kind of mix it all up again to clean up the space, or because you need to do something else. So be really careful about and set yourself up for success that way. Set your minimum scrap size before you begin. If you're using paper storage boxes and dividers to sort, use sticky notes to label the dividers, because you might want to make changes as you go along. So just where I had the little adhesive tabs that were already stuck onto my dividers, if you use sticky notes first, and then once you get everything sorted, then add those little adhesive tabs, then that's going to work a little bit better for you, and you'll make sure the adhesive tabs are all in the right space. Here's a few links that you might need. The recorded version of the webinar where it's posted, and that's a long link, so you don't have to jot it down. It's not clickable from your screen, but it'll come out in the email that goes out this afternoon or tomorrow morning, so you'll have a link back. There's obviously our website. The Facebook group is called the 2011 Get Organized Challenge group, and if you find it as a 2011 challenge group, and I know it's 2012, but the group is too big and Facebook won't let us change the name, so that's the right group. Now, if you are getting the follow-up emails, you may have opted out of our email list at some point in the past, or because some of our emails come from customer service, and because they say things in them that your spam filter might assume are spam, they might just be getting dumped into your spam folder or your junk mail folder. So you might check both of those places. And then if that's the case, then make us an approved sender, and so those emails will get through to you. You can also go to the website and re-opt in for the emails, and that'll, if you've already been on the list, that'll send you an email that says, are you sure you want to rejoin? And when you say yes, then you'll get another thing that says your status has been updated. So those are some steps that you can take. Whoops. So I'm going to leave this for a second here, and I'm just going to go to our website so I can kind of show you where things are on the website. So when you go to the ScrapRack.com, you get this pink page, and if you just click into the pink page, that's going to take you into the website. So this is the home page here. So Overwhelmed to Organize Summer Challenge Series is on the left. You can see where it's turning pink. I don't know if you can actually see my mouse, but on the left side you see where that big block is turning pink. If you just click on that, that's going to take you into the summer updates page. It has all the basic information. If you haven't downloaded the workbook, you can see kind of in the middle of the page it says download the workbook. You can do that there. If you are having trouble with the workbook, you can email Joanna at customer service, and she will attach a PDF of the workbook and respond back to you. In that situation, if you're asking Joanna for the workbook, all you need to do is in the subject line put a message that says workbook please, and you don't have to write anything in the body. She'll know what you need. She'll attach the workbook and send it back to you. You don't need to I hate to go against what your mother's always told you about being thankful and saying thank you. You don't need to respond back when you get the workbook with another email that says thanks, because if it says workbook, please, in the subject line, Joanna's just going to attach the workbook and send it back to you again. So we know that you're thankful and appreciative, so don't worry about sending that thank you email, because you'll just end up getting another workbook. Join the Get Organized Challenge group on Facebook, so you can click on that link to do that. And then down below that, you're going to find the posted versions of the webinar. So May 15th, we did challenge number 1. Get ready to get organized. If you want the PDFs of the event, there's a link there. You can download the PDFs of the presentation. And then there's links to the articles and the different things that I talked about through the challenge. So today, after this recording is done processing and gets uploaded, it'll be posted right here under the May 22nd, 2012 piles of paper challenge number 2, and you'll be able to download the presentations there as well. You can't, it's not a live link right now because we're not finished with it, but I will put the presentation link up there for the PDFs as well. So that's how you can find everything that you need to get to later. So let me go back here to the PowerPoint presentation, and I'm going to just click here from beginning, and we'll move through a little bit, fix some slides here. And now I'm going to open the floor for questions. And I'm sorry I forgot to give my little question lecture at the beginning, so I hope if you have questions that you found them. You found the little question pane. So let me go back here, and we'll see where we've got. So let's start with, so first I had a lot of feedback on the audio, so let me get past that. And we'll start with a comment from Sandra Lewis. Your idea on how to organize the pizza box kits was great. I've got about 20 of those, and they're currently stacked in the closet. I'm going to organize these this weekend. Perfect, Sandra. It's really simple. It's a really simple way to do it and make them accessible. Tony says, most of the kits and paper stack group different colors, pattern sheets together that all match or will look good together. If I split them up and sort them according to the system, I might remember that these pages go together. How do I handle this? So I may have kind of answered that as I was talking about the stacks, right? So all you're going to do is take that stack, which has a rainbow of colors in it, and you're just going to stand it up right in there in the rainbow section next to your paper storage boxes. Because really what you want to do is have it visible and accessible. So even though that paper stack might, be a rainbow of colors, so a lot of times they're like the same patterns in different colors or whatever. And you're right, you want to keep things together you would use together. So just stand that stack up, and maybe it has, a lot of them have some kind of theme, like it's floral or it's girly or it's seasonal or whatever. So put that little tag on the end for what it is, and then at least you'll find it. The other thing about having that stack standing up is that then you can just use your thumb and flip through the corner of it and, get an eyeful of what's in that stack, what the patterns are, what the style. Is it really geometric? Is it really florally? Is it lots of, dots, whatever you've got, but you'll be able to flip through it and see it. Mostly you'll be able to pull it off the shelf and use it. So, yes, Tony, don't take things apart. Now, as you get through it and you use up a bunch of papers and there's just a little bit left, and you might be able to work it into your color section or your theme section or whatever, but don't take everything apart. Candy says, when I'm sorting paper and I come across something that I can't quickly decide where it belongs, I put it in a box or pile with other things I can't decide about. Then I go through the box later. I might get them all sorted then, or I might have to leave them in the box until even later. The more I've sorted, the easier it is to decide. So I will eventually get it all done. So there's Candy's trick for when her brain starts to shut down and she's just making a decision is tough. Just put it in the I'll decide later box. So I have to be honest, I'm not a huge advocate of that, but if it's working for you, that's one of the beautiful things about the Facebook group, because there is no one-size-fits-all pattern for things. And so if it works for Candy to put everything in an I'll decide later box, or not everything, but the things that she can't make a decision on, then it's probably going to work good for somebody else. So if you find yourself in that position, that might be a little trick for you to try Candy's I'll decide later box. So Sandra Lewis says, do you sell the supersized single paper holders? I think those are great for storage, but don't know where to find them. Yes, we do sell the supersized. Well, we usually sell the supersized paper holders, and we are out of stock on them right now. So if you go to the website, and I'll just put it up in the background here, and you click on shopping and pages, We do have the side loader singles in stock, and those are a little bit heavier duty material. But the side loader singles, so the supersized singles are here, and it says out of stock, and you can click on Notify Me, and then you'll get an email as soon as they're back in stock. The side loader singles are at the bottom right here. It says side loader single 5-pack. So those work as well. Those work really well for paper also. We do expect to have everything back in stock in mid-June, maybe a little bit sooner, but we're keeping our fingers crossed for that. So they will be back soon. Beverly says, when I went through the spring challenge, I had a few themes and the rainbow colors for my paper. Now that I've been using it for a couple of months that way, I am thinking to get rid of all the themes for paper except Christmas and Halloween and Disney and put everything in rainbow. Is there a reason not to do this for the paper? Thanks. I appreciate you doing these webinars. They have really helped me focus on getting better organized. Beverly and AZ. You know, Beverly, I don't know what you have in your paper collection. So my mother mostly works with solid colored prints and patterns. She doesn't use a lot of themed stuff. And so depending on where you are in your life and whether you have little kids and what they're doing at school and whether they're in sports and what your activities are, you know, some people just don't have a lot of themes. And so if you don't have a lot of themes and holiday stuff, then you're going to have those smaller sections. But my concern would be if you took your ballet paper, as an example, and you put it in your rainbow section, how would you find it if you needed ballet paper? So I hope that makes sense. So even if your themes are tiny, and so you don't necessarily have to have a separate folder for each theme, right? You can have just a tab that says, or folder that says A through F. So if you have, 3 sheets of baby paper and 2 sheets of camping paper, those can all go under that tab or that divider. But if you mix your theme papers into rainbow, then it would be very difficult to find the themes, I guess. Now, if you're somebody who mostly uses solid colored paper, you just have a few themes, and that's perfect to just have a few themes. You certainly don't want to create themes that you don't use or work for. Sandy says, I'm so glad I had lots of little scraps of paper to use for cataloging my punches. But now that the project is complete, I'm going to go through my scraps and get rid of the smaller pieces. So it's kind of a reinforcer there of also the idea from Diana Dawson that if you hang on to those little scraps through the punch organization webinar and then throw them away, it might be perfect. Candy says, if I sort 8 inches of paper each week, I'll be done by the end of the series. You go, girl. That's perfect. But that's what I'm saying. Just do a little bit each week and don't let yourself get overwhelmed. And don't think that you have to do it all at once. You can just do a little bit each week. If you have lots of time, then you can do more of the challenge or, make it a bigger challenge for yourself. But work in small bites of projects so that you can actually, the other thing is once you start getting things sorted, like even if you sort 8 inches of paper, the next time you sit down to scrap, you're going to be able to reap the rewards of your work because you'll be able to use that 8 inches of paper that's sorted and find things really quickly, and it'll be so much easier. I get a little bit excited about this and kind of a goofball about it. Okay, so Yar says, hi, Yar. Yar says, hi, Tiffany. I store my scraps in my scrap rack, but in front of my paper instead of behind each color, so that I see the scraps before I look through the new papers. This technique has helped me use my scraps more. So that's a good point. If what you see first, if it's easy and accessible and visible, then you're going to use it. So maybe putting your scraps in the front is the right way to go, or definitely the right way to go for some. Karen says, I am still have issues with numbering things for categories. Will you elaborate on this later? I will. I'm not sure, Karen, if you could maybe clarify if you're talking about numbering things like Cricut cartridges and stamps, or if you're talking about numbering things like your Kit Club stuff. So if it's Kit Club stuff, I'll talk about it more now. So just put another post up. Karen asks, for scraps that don't meet our minimum size, do we add that to our purge box or trash? It just depends what you're doing with your purge box, Karen. If you're giving your purge box to kindergarten, they might want those little scraps of paper. If you're giving it to, some other, it just kind of depends. I put my scraps in the recycle bin, personally. I mean, if it's not big enough for somebody to do something with, it's going to end up in the recycle bin for me. So what you don't want to do is create a wonderful purge box full of stuff that somebody else has to dig through and they don't find useful. So I guess that could be, maybe part of your decision process. Anything that, if I'm not keeping anything that's not at least 12 inches long, I'm not putting anything in the purge box that's at least 6 inches so that somebody else could get some use out of it. But mine goes in their checklist. Okay. Karen, another Karen, so we have 3 Karens in a row, followed by Krista. So, okay, so Karen says, I have everything in 3-ring binders, themes, list, workbook, and the 4-section system. Good job, Karen. Krista says, sorting right now, wondering if I have a category called family, but then boy and girl and baby are subcategories, which for me are pretty big. Should I do a tab called family and then other tabs for boy, girl, etc. behind that, or just put them all behind one tab called family? I would do what your first suggestion. I would do family, and then behind that, very specific boy, very specific girl things also. And I know some people also have family, and then they have boy, girl, and ancestry. So that might be the those kind of things. But all the stuff for family is going to work for boy and for girl and for everything that fits that group. So that's definitely what I would do, a family tab, and then sort the 2 behind it. So Pam says, my sound keeps cutting out. More no sound than sound. I don't know if anybody else is having that trouble, so if you can post up if you are, it's something I can address before the next issue or the next session. Christina says, if you use paper boxes, would you put embellishments there too or keep them together? If you're using paper boxes because you're a paper junkie, the important thing about the paper boxes is that they follow the same 4-section, there's only 3 sections for paper system. So no, you wouldn't put your embellishments in there. What you would do is follow the 4-section system. So if you're working on sports and you're a paper junkie for sports, and you have hundreds of sheets of sports paper, you can go to your shelf and pull the sports box off the shelf and set it on your desk. So instead of a 12 by 12 pile on your desk, you've just got like a 3-inch wide, 12-inch long box on the desk with all the paper in it that you can easily thumb through and pull in and out of the box. And then you put the sports box back on the shelf. So what you're doing is tying the 2 things together. So you can flip to the sports section in your ScrapRack or whatever tool you're using and also have all your sports paper, but it's really easy for your brain to pull the 2 things together. So it depends if you're a paper junkie or not, but I would not put embellishments in a paper storage box. It'd be hard to get at them. They wouldn't be visible anymore, I guess. So Anna says, I keep my paper flat file. How can I organize it so I know what I have? So it's the same concept, Anna. When you say flat file, I'm assuming like paper storage racks or something where it's laying flat, 12 by 12, sort of stacked up or shelves or whatever it is. You just want to put some dividers in there so that you know where Christmas ends and where Thanksgiving begins, or where winter, like you might go winter then Christmas or Christmas and winter, however it works in your brain. But you just want to put some dividers in, and you want to sort it in those 4 sections, or 3 with paper, so that if you're looking for themes or holidays, they're all in one. I mean, themes are all in one, and holidays are all in one area, so that when you know exactly where to go and look for those things. Karen says, how do I deal with paper of different sizes, 8.5 by 11, 8 by 8, especially with the stacks? It's the same. So if I go back here to the let's see, from current slide, let's go back, and you can see when we look at the paper storage boxes on the slides, there's all different sizes in there. And the same thing, you can stand up that little 6 by 6 stack or 8 by 8 stack right next to your paper storage boxes and in the same order. So the more you can consolidate into one place, the better off it's going to be to actually find that. So those are kind of hard to see. Let's get here. This is a good one. So let me move my question pane over. So, so you can see in the picture on the bottom right side, there's all different sizes of paper in there. It's just following that same rainbow category. So there's scraps, there's 8 by 8, there's 8.5 by 11, and then there's 12 by 12. So that's one of the myths of organizing that's sort of been pushed upon us by the craft and hobby industry, who advocates that we separate everything out as much as we can. So their philosophy for organization might be divide and conquer. My philosophy for organization is combine and conquer. So just because something's 8.5 by 11 or 8 by 8 or 6 by 6 for that matter, doesn't mean that it should be kept separate from your 12 by 12 paper, because you're going to use all of those things together, right? You're going to keep things together that you would use together. So I would put them all together so you can do it in paper storage boxes. If you have smaller 8.5 by 11 sheets or 8 by 8 sheets and you're using a scrap rack, they can just go right into a pocket page, and then they can get stored right in the category of your scrap rack. But I know it sort of goes against conventional wisdom, but you don't want to have 5 red sections of stuff spread all around your room. You want to have a red section in your storage tool, let's say scrap rack, and then if you're paper junking, you have too much red paper to go in there, you want to have red paper in your paper storage box. So there's only 2 places. There's the red section in your scrap rack and the red section in your paper storage. So, but it is something that's pushed upon us by the industry that we should separate those things out. All right, let's see. Sarah says, I finished the paper sort during the spring challenge, but in the process of organizing the other things, I have found miscellaneous paper, scraps, etc. This is a good motivation to get those last bits of paper into my system. Thank you so much for doing these webinars, Tiffany. You are so welcome. I'm sorry, did I say that was a post from Sarah? You're so welcome. I love doing them. Okay, Brenna says, with so many scraps from scrapbooking, I have found my pound of paper scraps overwhelming and just too much to file in the pages. Get rid of them then. So you can set a minimum or a maximum that you're going to keep, right? So if your maximum is, if you're using a scrap rack as an example, I'm going to use 1 perfect 6 storage page, 1 4x4 1 fabulous 4 storage page. I'm going to use 1 double extra long storage page for scraps in each major category. And when those are full, any other scraps I create, I'm going to throw them away. So the thing is, which we talked about a little bit about purging before, if you keep and keep and keep everything, right, then you have to dig and dig and dig through everything to find what you really need. And so you don't really use anywhere near as much, or you end up creating more scraps because it's too hard to go through all the scraps that you have. So set yourself up for success by saying, I'm only going to keep this much. And then you're going to throw everything else away or give it away or purge it away or whatever. So sometimes when I say throw things away or get rid of things, I don't necessarily mean throw it away. I mean do whatever you would do with it. I always get all these emails that say, you said throw away our scraps and they should go in the recycle bin. You said throw away our scraps and they should go, in the donation box. So I just mean get it out of your system, whatever you're using when I say that. So so I set that this is the maximum that I'm going to keep, and then get rid of anything that, that once you're at that maximum, get rid of anything that's left over. Brenda, when you think you have, when will you think you'll have the 50-page variety pack again? We won't have it again because we have, new pages coming out. So now we have more than the 50-page variety pack with 10 of each of the 5 pages that we had when we created that pack. Well, now we've got 7 pages, so the new variety packs will be 70 pages, so you're going to get 10 of each of the 7 different page designs, and then we have a 35-page pack, which is 5 of each of the 7 designs. But all those things will be coming back, hopefully mid-June. We'll have them all back in stock. They're finishing up the production run right now, getting things boxed up, put on a ship, and headed our way, so as soon as we know, you'll know. And I've got some of the sample products actually here. I haven't taken pictures of them yet, but I'm going to go try and get them up on the website here this week so you can see what's coming in terms of the new page configuration. So you'll get a little picture of it, and there'll be a little notify me button on there too that will say out of stock, even though we've never had it, and then it'll say notify me. So if you want to know when those products are packed, click on the notify me and put in your email address, and then as soon as we make them available, so what happens when things are coming back into stock, once we have a confirmed arrival date in the Port of Tacoma, we put them up, we make them available for purchase on the website. So as soon as we make them available, you'll get that notification that says, these are back in stock. It doesn't necessarily mean they are back in stock. It just means that they're going to be here soon. You can place your order now, and as soon as they come in, we'll ship it up. That was kind of a long explanation. Sorry about that. Sandra says, I'm not using my purge box. My problem has been I have so much stuff I can't use it because I can't find it. Once I sort things, then I can purge. Is that okay? It seems like I'm just moving stuff around. So Sandra, it is okay, but as you're moving things around, if you're looking at things, if you set your purge goal before you start moving things around, so whatever that purge goal is, it could be pounds, it could be inches, it could be however old things are, get your purge box set up and out and ready to go. And when you come across something and you look at that thing and you say, I bought this 10 years ago, I thought it was adorable then, I think it's hideous now, it's going to go in the purge box. So as you're moving things around and picking things up, or things that are damaged, or the corners are bent, or maybe the corner of paper was exposed to light and now the corners are all bleached out, so you're not going to be able to use that paper, or you don't even like it anymore, or it's a goofy texture, or whatever it is. If your purge box is readily available, then you're going to be able to start throwing things in there. What you don't want to do, if you can avoid it, is move things around that you're never going to use. So if you come across something in the process, you know you're not going to use it, and your purge box is handy, then you can throw it in the purge box. Make it easy on yourself to purge. Get that purge box out there. I think it's Sarah Irwin, put a big ribbon on her purge box and decorated it all up so it's an attractive, thing in her room. So set the purge box up. Don't let yourself get overwhelmed by the fact that you are or aren't using it. But once it's up and out and easy, as you come across things that you won't use, there's stuff that we have that's outdated and it's ugly, and things that we bought 5 years ago for doing baby pages, even though we haven't done those baby pages, those items are outdated and unattractive at this point. They may have gotten dirty, or the stickers may, have been stuck on the back of something. Stickers kind of peel apart. So get a purge box, put it out there. That's all I'm asking you to do. And I bet that as you move things around, you'll find some things that you say, this could probably definitely go in the purge box. I'll tell you something else. Once you start purging, it's easy to keep purging because you realize that nothing bad is going to happen when you purge that stuff. And for most of us, we have enough scrapbooking and crafting supplies that if we scrapbooked or crafted every day for the rest of our lives and never bought another thing, we would never run out of things. So don't be afraid. I'm sure you all have plenty of stuff out there. So Joanna asked me to have a friendly reminder. We've received several emails from folks having trouble viewing PDFs. In most cases, all you need to do is update your Adobe Reader. So email customer service at the ScrapRack, and Joanna will send you directions on how to get the free download. So if you're unfamiliar with Adobe or Adobe Reader, you can go to adobe.com, and right there on their main page it says update your Adobe Reader. It's free. If you don't understand all the steps for that, or you've never done it before, Joanna is prepared with an email giving you the step-by-step instructions for how to do it. But most of the time that you can't download one of our PDFs, it's because we are using the latest version of Adobe to create the PDFs, and you just need to update your Adobe Reader. And some of you have computers that automatically update it, or they flash a little box that says there are updates available, and you don't want to update things because it makes you nervous. But if you update things, then something is going to go tragically sideways, which has happened to all of us when we've updated something that we, in hindsight, think maybe that wasn't a good idea. But you can go to Adobe and do it, or you can get the step-by-step instructions, customer service at ScrapRack.com, and Joanna has put all of that together for you. Mary Smith says, just joined the webinar late. What do you do with monthly themed papers that one gets from subscriptions like Club Scrap? And so what we talked about with those, Mary, and I'll just go back really quickly, is that when you get those Club Scrap boxes, and the one I used was actually a monthly theme, so that's a perfect one, perfect example. So when you got the Lotus Pond, which is kind of a spring theme kit, you're going to take that flyer out of the box and photocopy it, or if it only fits one theme, so in this case spring is the only place I would put this, I would take that flyer out of the box from Club Scrap, give the flyer a number, number 105, give the box a number, number 105, throw the box in the stack, put the flyer in spring, and now as I'm looking for spring things, when I flip through and I see that Lotus Pond, number 105, I can go directly to Club Scrap and pull box number 105. Hope that answered your question. Karen says, I just tried downloading the PDF workbook and got the message the file is damaged and could not be repaired. I'll send an email, but you might want to check it out. That is an indicator that you have the wrong Adobe. So exactly what we were talking about. the file is fine, but that's the common error message, which really means you need to update your reader. All right, so now, I guess with that said, there's also some, I guess that's not the only reason, there are also some controls that you set on your computer, some security controls. And so some of those security controls won't let you download things because your security is set too high. And so it looks at a PDF and goes, this could be a dangerous file to download. So that would be the other thing. So you can absolutely send an email to Joanna and get whatever you need. And she can send you a link directly to the PDF as well, and sometimes that helps. Janet says, what is a good spacing for the binders on the ScrapRack? So the idea with the binders on the ScrapRack is they work like the back of a book or the spine of a book. So you know, if you've ever taken a book and ripped pages out of the middle and then the spine is wobbly where those pages are missing, it's all those pages grouped together and attached to that spine of the book that holds all the pages together nice and neat. So with your ScrapRack, you want the same thing. You need the binders lined up relatively close. And if you just stagger them a little bit, so one high, one low, one high, one low. And when I say high and low, I only mean a quarter-inch difference in height as you go across your ScrapRack. But I think, and so closer is generally better because then you get that back of a book spine effect. Now, I just got an email from Merle. I don't know if she's on board with us today, but she's my partner that does all the shows with me. And she fit 11 binders on her ScrapRack, and so hers are super close together. But if you're working with just the 7, just equal distance apart, one high, one low, and that'll give you a really good spine to the back of your book. Brenda says, paper scraps are great for preschool and kindergarten class teachers. So teachers love scraps, and little kids especially love scraps. So like I've got some feedback on the sound that's coming in pretty clear. Sandra says, I get so charged up when I listen to your presentations. However, I can't work on anything till the weekend. I'm very glad you can watch the presentations again. Good. I'm glad that you find them motivating. And yeah, on the, they're just on the website. And I know for those of you who want to listen on an iPad or something, whatever, I think they're $1.99 on the website. If you can't attend live or you want to listen while you're picking up your kids from school or whatever, and you don't have a computer handy, you can always download them and have them with you that way as well. Or that way you can put your headsets on and sort of tune out everybody else while you're working on things on the weekend. So Sandra, I'm glad that you find them motivating. I'm glad they're available later. Winona Baker says, do your supersize singles fit 12 by 13 ring binder? Do they hang out on the sides a lot? So our pages are 12 by 12 3-ring binder. All the pocket dimensions on our pages are 12.5 by 12.5. The reason they're 12.5 by 12.5 is because if you have a 12 by 12 piece of paper and you try to put it into a pocket that is only 12 by 12, it's really hard to fit it in there, and it's really hard to get it out. It's really hard to put multiple pieces of paper in there. So all of our pages are 12.5 by 12.5. So if you have a 12 by 12 3-ring binder, they're probably going to stick out a little bit around the edges. Now, with that said, I know Close to My Heart makes a 3-ring binder that our pages fit perfectly in. So there might be a little bit of fluctuation based on the manufacturer of the binder also with that, but they are 12.5 by 12.5. So they're a little bit bigger than like the the crop and style pages were exactly 12 by 12. Well, ours are a little bit bigger than that just for ease of access. Let's see. Karen says, I have a bunch of papers which are tone on tone. I use them as neutrals, but also for grunge and steampunk. How would it be best to organize these? So when you say tone on tone, I'm guessing that they're brown on brown or blue on blue or whatever, and so I would just put them in the color section, because even if you're working with steampunk or vintage graphic 45 or whatever, you're looking for a color to work as with that printed paper or those accessories that you're using. So you might have how I went through my list of distressed, dots, plaids, whatever. You might have a section that's all tone on tone. So if you do a lot of that, then add that to your print pattern tone on tone, and you'll be able to find them easily. Brenda says, I think you're right. I will be purging my paper racks and go upright with boxes. Thank you for this presentation. You're very welcome. The huge advantage to vertical paper storage is that it's so much easier to get to. And if you're using flat racks, there's a lot of damage that occurs to the edges of the paper because you have to move it around all the time to get to the things that are underneath it. Whereas if you go vertical with your paper, you know, you can just thumb through the corners and you're not banging everything else around or lifting other things in and out to try and get that to that one. So vertical paper storage is really great. It's really a great idea. Kristen says, would you keep 12 by 12 and 8.5 by 11 paper together right now? I have them stored apart. I absolutely combine and conquer. So I probably already covered that since she posted that question. You know, when I showed those other paper storage boxes, and I'll go back to that just in case anybody missed it. But you can see, you can put any size paper together, and then you're only looking for stuff in one place, and that's really your goal, to make it easy to find your stuff. Because what you don't want to do is rely on your brain to tell you. When you say, do I have red paper? Then if your brain says yes, and then you say, well, where is it? And then it says, well, there's some in the closet, and there's some in the shelf, and there's some in the drawer. What size do you want? Well, now you've made it difficult for yourself to find those things. So keep as much stuff together as you can put together. Janet says, within the ABC number section, do I also sort according to colors? No. Sort according to size. And the reason I recommend sorting according to size in your alphanumeric section is because if you're going to write a tag or title, right, and you want to use, let's say 4th of July, right, is a common example that I use. If you put your red stickers all together in red and your blue stickers all together in blue and your white stickers all together in white, and then you go to red thinking I'm going to write 4th of July in red, but you don't have all the letters you have. And so then you think, well, I think I have this same sticker, you know, in blue. I'll go look in blue. Then you have to look through to the blue section and then look through the different stickers to find out if you actually have the one that's the same size as the red one. And then you don't have all the letters there. Now you got to go to white. So if you keep your alphanumeric stickers grouped together by size, then it's going to be a lot easier to write tags or write titles or spell things out if you don't have all of that particular sticker that you want to start with. It's easy to find other things that are similar sizes. So even if you're collagey, right, and you're using different kinds of fonts in different colors, they're mostly within the same size group, right? So you're not necessarily going to use a 6-inch letter and a 1/2-inch letter, right? You might use 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 2 inches for collagey. If you've got them by sizes, then you're going to easily see the different sizes that might work. So I definitely would sort by size with alphabets, not by color. Okay, Lori says, do you find it easier to separate your cardstock from your paper? No, it all goes together. So solid colored paper and solid colored cardstock, and printed paper and printed cardstock. So you're sorting it more by what you're going to look for. So if I'm looking for stripes, I might have some cardstock that's striped and some paper that's striped. I'm looking for blue stripes. I'm going to go to blue. I'm going to go to the stripe section. I'm going to keep both the cardstock and the paper grouped together there. Make it easy. Make it as simple as you can to find everything you need that might fit the category that you want to work with. That's really the key. Brenda says, for paper storage boxes, I will be getting postal boxes and shape them with duct tape with a pretty design. Woo! There we go. What about double-sided paper? Oh, double-sided paper always rears its ugly head in this presentation. Go with the side you like the most. That's my suggestion. The side that you're most likely to use, go with that side. So, and again, that's one of those things that people kind of stress out about. But most of us, try to remember this little mantra. Most of us have enough paper that if we crafted every minute of every day for the rest of our lives, we would never run out of paper. So if you end up with some papers in the wrong place or you make the wrong decision, it's not going to be that big a deal. So choose the side that you like the best and file it under that color or that design or theme or whatever. Tiffany, this is Twyla in Tanzania. Hi, Twyla. I have questions about when I order from the website. I got a notification of order, but the notification did not put a list of the items on the order. Is that something you might do later? All you have to do if you want to see what's in your order is just go into the website. Let's see, I'll go there right now. Let me see if I can get out of here. So when you go into the website, right here on the bottom of the page, it says My Account. You can also go over here to the My Account tab. You can click on the My Account tab. Let's see if I can remember my account to get into. You click on Past Orders. Dun, dun, dun. See what happens. It's going to say, let's see if I can get in here. I don't know if I remember my own password. So, so then it'll bring up a screen that looks like this, and it'll show you what it is that you ordered, and then you're just going to click on the order number, and it's going to show you all the items that you ordered and where they were shipped, and who bought them, and if there's a tracking number, it's going to be down here at the bottom of the page. It'll give you your tracking ID, and right here it'll say the company it was shipped with, so USPS or UPS. So that My Account tab on the website is going to be really helpful if you want to get your tracking number. That's the other thing with UPS and USPS. We send out those emails that have your tracking number in them, and sometimes they get dumped into junk mail or you lose it or whatever. You can just go right into the My Account tab, and then you can click in to Past Orders and get all the information. If you want to change something in your account, you can go to Modify Account, and you can change your password or whatever you want to do there. Change your billing address, change your shipping address. It's all right there on that tab. So that's probably the best way to get that information. Let's see. Desiree says, per my scraps being way too much, at one point I went through and categorized sizes and got my punches out. It coincided with the sizes and punched away. So going forward, I would have any of those shapes I needed available at any time. So another good use for scraps. So if you have a punch that you like to use, or especially if you're somebody who does punch art and you always need lots of circles or whatever, then you can punch out a lot of circles in a variety of colors and put them in a, either by color in a Sweet 16 page or something like that, or if they're a themed punch, you can put them in a theme in your theme section as well. But that's a great use of your scraps. And then those punches are ready to go. Brenda says, I can't wait to place my order. I got my ScrapRack off Craigslist 3 years ago, and I'm finally going to use it when you get your inventory in June. Yes, yes, with an exclamation point. Good for you, Brenna. You're going to love it. Sandra says, thanks for the answer about me not using my purge box. I already know without looking that I do have stuff that I don't like anymore. Yeah, it just makes it easy. If you make it easy on yourself, then you're actually going to do it. So get that purge box out, and it'll be so much easier. Lori Ann says, I have way too much. I love to shop for scrapbook bargains and find purging really difficult. My only purge goal is ... And once you start organizing your supplies, you'll find that you're shopping less for bargains, and you're actually doing more. And so another thing, now, the whole buying and shopping thing, I don't know, there's a whole bunch of psychology around buying and shopping, right? And so if shopping and buying is something that you're doing for the joy of shopping and buying, then it sometimes works better to shop with intention. So if you love to buy scrapbook bargain stuff and you enjoy that process of shopping and buying, then you might be able to team up with your kid's school teacher and say, hey, what about if I make this donation and the kids can do scrapbooks, or the kids can do this project or whatever, and then it's easier to focus what you're shopping and buying for. So instead of shopping and buying and collecting, you're actually shopping and buying and either using yourself or helping somebody else use those things. So there's a lot around shopping, a lot of psychology around shopping that really, why we do it and what sort of need it satisfies for us or whatever. And I'll tell you my own, what I do, my own little strategy. When I shop for things, the kids are going to laugh at me, but it really works. A lot of times when we're shopping for things, we don't need anything, but we enjoy the process of shopping, right? So I'll go into Macy's or whatever, and there's particular departments that I like, and so I'll find the things that I like. I don't like trying things on at the store. I like to take them home and try things on. I'm out of the shower and I'm all clean or whatever. But so I'll go around this department at the store, and I'll take things and carry them around with me. I don't put them in a bag. I don't get like a bag or whatever. I just carry these mostly clothing items, whatever, around with me to store. And then I keep thinking about them as I'm carrying them around with me. And eventually, I don't know the psychology of it. I don't know why it works. But eventually I get tired of carrying that thing around, and then I just put it back. Because I think, you know what? I don't really need that. And if I have some rules about my closet. I mean, you guys can think I'm a nut job, but whenever I bring something new into my closet, I have to get rid of something old out of the closet, right? So I never add hangers to my closet. The number of hangers that I have in the closet is the number of hangers that I get. And in order, now, you can't go to Macy's and buy things on the hanger, right, and justify that it doesn't count. So whatever the number of hangers I have in my closet is, those are the number of hangers that I get. So if I buy something on the hanger, then I not only get rid of an article of clothing, I get rid of the hanger that it's on as well. But that's it. And so it makes it really easy to not be hoarding up and collecting and filling things up, because even with something as simple as your closet, the more stuff you cram into it, the harder it is to find the thing that you really want when you're in there, right? Or you miss things that you might love to wear, and because you can't find them or you don't see them because things are so packed into your closet. So you can do that same thing with craft supplies, where if you're carrying it around the store and you're having to think about it, where am I going to, how am I going to use it? Where am I going to put it? How am I going to store it? Do I have things that are already like this? Then it's easier to put it back and not actually buy it, because your brain starts processing that you already have those things, or that you're going to have to get rid of something when you bring it back. So I have a passion for black cardigans, right? I have 3 black cardigan sweaters in my closet. So if I find another black cardigan sweater that I like, then I know I'm going to have to get rid of one of the other 3 when I bring that home, or something else. But mainly it's probably going to be a rotation of the other 3. And so then I'm able to think about the black cardigans. Do I like this new cardigan more than I like any of the other cardigans in my closet? So once you start thinking more that way about organization and how you're going to put things away and what you're going to do with things, it makes it easier to do that. So Lori Ann posts, when she's going through her stuff, she says, if it doesn't wow me, it goes into the purge box. So that's a great way. But what Lori's done there is set a goal for her purge box, right? If it doesn't wow me, it goes in the purge box. So that might be a strategy that a lot of you can use. If I don't love it, I like my closet. Those kind of things tie together. If I don't love it, it's going to get replaced with something else. If I don't love it, it's going to go in the purge box. It's going to go in the Goodwill box, whatever it is. So great idea, Lori. And so you can set that up. You can write that on your bulletin board. If it doesn't wow me, it's going in the purge box. If I don't love it, it's going in the purge box. If I can't think of somewhere that I would use this in the next 6 months, it's going in the purge box. So a goal can be anything. It can be any sort of parameter that's going to help you get rid of the stuff you won't use so that you can actually get to the stuff you will use. Sorry, I feel like I'm on my own little soapbox here. So sometimes I get on a little tirade. I apologize for that. Candy says, I haven't used my stuff in a long time because I haven't been able to get to it, not because I haven't wanted to use it. I'm not purging much right now, but I believe that after I get organized and have been using my stuff for a while, I'll start purging a lot more. And that's true too. Once you start working with your organized stuff, if you've only been able to purge a little bit, now you got to have that purge box. That's a permanent fixture in your room from this point on. But once you start getting organized and you realize how much stuff you're constantly flipping past, then it makes it easier to get it into that box. But I love Lori's idea. If it doesn't wow me, if I don't love it, it's gone. There's too much going on for me to be digging stuff past stuff I don't love. Vicki says, enjoying your webinar, but I did not receive any emails from last week's webinar. Thanks. So, Vicki, you can email customer service at thescraprack.com, and we can follow up on that with you. But what you may need to do is just go to the website. Let me get to the home page here. I guess I can show you that as well. I can't. I have to move my screen. You guys can't see. There we go. So you're going to click on home right here. And at the bottom of the home page under this little video, there's this thing that says join our mailing list. And if you click on that, and then you put in your information, if you're already on our mailing list, you'll get a notice back that says your account has been updated. And then if you get something back that says thanks for joining us, then you know that there was something wrong with the mailing list. But like I said, what happens is that you, whoops, that's the wrong thing here. What happens is that if at some point you've opted out, or if we're getting dumped into your spam or junk mail file, you just need to make us an approved sender, and then they'll get through. But if if you're not on the list also, which you should be. If you're getting the webinar links, that should mean that you're on the list. But if you're not on the list, then you can email Joanna at customer service, and she'll make sure that you get there. Brenda says, if you have stacks like coordinations, do you break it up? No, I wouldn't. I would just stand that stack up at the front of your rainbow section, because coordinations is really a cool product. If you're somebody who uses it and you love it and it's right there at the front of the rainbow, then you're just going to be able to thumb through it, right? So what you're doing is just getting those things in close proximity to each other so that you can actually see it and it's easy to pull in and out, rather than stacking all your coordinations paper in a box in the closet or at the other end of the room. It's right there with the rest of your paper. So just make it easy. Now, if you have a coordination stack and you only have 4 or 5 sheets of paper left in it, or even 10 sheets of paper left, then you might put it in the color category or whatever. But I wouldn't, unless you're totally organized and you have time to be pulling stacks apart and refiling papers individually, I wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend finding an easy way to access it. Dorothy says, when you first start loading full binders on your double rack, do you start at the middle or at the end? I would probably end up starting at the end. I'm not sure if I'm reading your question right. So I would put my alphanumeric sections in first, and then the themes, and then, now what you can do, Dorothy, if you're asking like, how do I space them as I'm just beginning to put them on, you can kind of lay out your binders flat on the table, and so that you can put them in order and see how much space they take up, and then you'll know how to space them on your rack. So if that's the question, sometimes it's easier to lay them all out in order, and the pages kind of flop over on top of each other, and then you can just start at the end and just add them on, but you know how far apart to put each binder, or how many are going to fit on each base or whatever. So if that's your question, that's the way to do that as well. Anna says, ugh, I just joined in. Can't remember if you will send a link to the webinar so that I could view it later. Yes, you will get an email with a link, but I'll go back again and just go back to the website here, and just a reminder to everyone that you'll be able to find it right here. So when you log into our website and you get into this page, just click on that Overwhelmed to Organize, and that's where we'll post the video. Sherry says, I forgot to record this session. Will I be able to access it again? Yes, I just answered that question too, I guess. Candy says, regarding shopping, I do the same thing. I shop, then I unshop. Stores with baskets or shopping carts are best. I walk around the whole store and put everything in the cart that I like. Then I walk around the store the second time and I put the things back. I'm over already. Sometimes I don't end up buying anything. It really is. I don't know why it works, but it really is a good mental strategy. And the other thing is that you're getting a little bit of exercise, like this wandering, walking around the store, picking things up and turning them around and putting them back. It does sort of satisfy, at least for me, and it sounds like for Candy too, that need to be in shopping mode and looking at things and touching things, and so it really does. It's totally goofy. It's totally goofy. Since I started consciously shopping that way, I buy way, way less stuff. So, all right, and one more poster. It looks like Candy says, I've thought about marking tools somehow. I use them so that after a period of time, maybe a year, anything that isn't marked will get purged. And I think that's a great idea too. We sell that freestyle mouse trimmer, and when we do shows and we demonstrate it at shows, I hear from people over and over again who have, a dozen or 2 dozen pairs of decorative edge scissors, and they say, oh my gosh, I've got 12 decorative edge scissors. I haven't touched them in 5 years or 3 years or whatever because they're so difficult to work with, right? So every time you're making a cut with a decorative edge scissor, you have to reline the scissor up so that you continue the pattern, and it makes it really difficult to use them. Remember what I keep saying, if it's difficult, if it's easy, you'll use it. If it's difficult, you won't. So when they see this freestyle mouse trimmer, I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I'll click on it while I'm on the website here. Let's see, on the cool tools thing. So this guy right here, right, this freestyle mouse kit, well, that little condensed mouse kit has 9 decorative edge blades, a scoring blade and a perforating blade and 2 straight blades, and it's really small and compact. But more than those things, it's really easy to use. Decorative edge scissors are difficult to use. We all have them, and if you're still carting them around, like Candy says, but you're not using them, then why are you still moving them around? So I think your idea, Candy, is a great one, that if you can, there's a little video here too about how to use that mouse, I guess, and you click to it, you see that, you know, how to use that freestyle mouse cutter. I don't know why the pictures aren't coming out. That's a little bit disturbing, but if you figure out a way to just, even if all you do is put a little, you know, use a black marker on something and just put a little dot on it, or I don't know, I guess you have to write the date on it as you use it. But that would make it a lot easier to purge stuff if you had some way to track those tools. But so stuff that you have that you're not using, it's great if you can come up with a way to do that. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit in a webinar. I think that's a great idea. Tammy says, I signed up for the mailing list but didn't get a confirmation. Please check your junk mail file. And also, if by some crazy situation you typed in your email address wrong when you signed up, then you wouldn't have gotten the confirmation because it would have gone somewhere else. So, you know, you may want to go in and re-sign up again and then see if you get that confirmation. But there's also a chance it's in your junk mail file. Sandra says, I missed the first seminar and half of this one. Can I replay them at home? So, yes, I think you've seen how to do that right over here on the Overwhelmed to Organize thing. On the email subject, I get the webinar reminders, but the follow-up from last week went into the spam folder. They come from two different places. The webinar reminders come from GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar on a totally separate list using a totally different mail service, and then the follow-up emails come from our list. So if you're getting one, but if you're getting the webinars but not our email list one, it's probably a problem in Campaigner in our email list where you just need to go in and re-sign up and then say we're okay to receive mail from it. It's probably in your junk mail folder. Joanna says, frequent question, where do you put black, white, vellum, or neutrals in the rainbow? Thanks. Absolutely. So I have a black and white section. My black and white are together. Some people have their black and white separately. And I have neutrals with brown. So even though brown isn't part of the rainbow when you talk about Roy G. Bibb, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, I just have browns, and my neutrals are in front of my browns. So it actually goes sort of off-white to tan into, you know, kind of fades into browns or neutrals then, but absolutely. Vellums are going to go wherever color they are. So if you have blue vellum, it's in blue, green vellum's in green. The same thing with any other sort of specialty papers. If you have green glitter paper, put it in green. If you have green velvet paper, put it in green. Don't separate out your papers by types or by size or any of that. Put them together in the rainbow where they belong, or in the themes where they belong. If you have Christmas vellum, it should be in Christmas. If you have, you know, Halloween vellum, it should be in Halloween. So don't do that. Dividing little categories where you have to look in multiple places for things. You want to put them where you're most likely to look for them so that you'll actually use them. Keep things together you would use together. Krista says, do you put floral paper in the rainbow section or the spring section? Maybe talk about spring versus flowers. I would put that floral in wherever I thought I was going to use it. So if I bought floral paper thinking specifically of Easter or specifically of Mother's Day, that's where I'm going to put it. If I just bought it because I thought it was beautiful pink floral paper, then I would put it in the pink section. So you want to put things that together with where you're going to use them. So when you buy with intention, then it goes with what you intended it for, so that you'll forget about it. But when you're just buying for beauty, then it's going to go in color. Christina says, when doing the colors of paper light to dark, yes, I definitely go light to dark with mine. That's what I would recommend, definitely light to dark. Joanna says you can use a Sharpie and a piece of masking tape and just put the date on them. So I think that's an excellent idea. Kim says, I am not getting the emails. I have re-signed up. I checked the junk mail, and they aren't there. Perhaps there's a problem you need to address. So you can email customer service at ScrapRack.com, and we will go in and look at our campaigner system, shows us how many emails we've sent to and whether or not they were opened or not. It doesn't tell us much more than that, but it does show that what we've sent to that email address. And so then we can figure out what's going on there. So if we show that we sent you all these emails, but none of them got opened. Now, spam and junk mail filters do some crazy things depending on how your settings are. So some of some people have their junk mail or their spam folder set up to delete things, and then they never actually get into your spam folder. Like, so certain words or whatever, or certain levels of security get automatically deleted versus things that that will go to junk mail. So with that said, if you go into your email server and approve, some of our email comes from me, T. Spaulding at the ScrapRack, and some of our email comes from customer service at the ScrapRack.com. If you approve both of those names, then those things will maybe still, you know, you maybe still have to check the spam folder, but I think once you approve them, then they're going to get into your inbox okay. So, but if you follow those recommendations and you're still not getting the email, please email customer service at the ScrapRack.com, and we will go into our system and see what we can see from our side about why it might not be getting through, and then help you get through to there, because we do send out a lot of information that way, and you don't want to miss the specials that we have, and especially you don't want to miss when the new products come in next month. All right, it looks like that is the very end of the questions for today. So thank you so much, everybody. I want you to, I'm going to just click back here into our very last slide here of your challenge, this week's challenge. So get busy on your challenge. I'm going to get busy on writing the follow-up email and getting it out so we can get it out to you this evening. Again, if you don't get it, you can email customer service at the ScrapRack.com, or you can T. Spaulding at the ScrapRack.com, and we will figure out why those emails aren't getting through to you. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see all of your posts on Facebook or your email progress posts. And I will be well organized week. Thanks so much.